Hey friends, and welcome back. Do you suffer from a chronic condition or major limiting factors? Do you feel less fruitful and productive as a result? Well, I hear you, I can empathise with you. Over the last 14 years, I've been living with a chronic illness, chronic fatigue. It's been life-changing and humbling. Yet compared to so many others with a chronic illness, I have been very fortunate. Over my journey, there have been many ups and downs, but during it, I've always considered and keep asking myself the question, can I be fruitful and productive whilst living with a chronic illness? Now, I think having considered it and thought about it quite a bit, I think the answer is yes, but it really depends on the perspectives or lenses that we look through. And I feel it's really critical to look through three lenses or perspectives in order to be fruitful whilst living with a chronic illness. So I hope today this video empowers you to be fruitful and productive whilst you are living with a chronic illness, the challenges and the struggles that it brings with it. So the first perspective or lens to look through is the whole aspect of having a unique call and contribution. Now, we live in a world where competition and comparison is everywhere. That's what the culture creates. We're always trying to benchmark ourselves against others to see how we're doing. However, we do have a unique call and contribution. As a Christian, I believe that God has designed us for a specific purpose and to achieve specific things. Each of us is unique and different. None of us are the same. Yet we embark on trying to compare ourselves to others. I think having a chronic fatigue or chronic illness condition doesn't really change that fact. It doesn't change that we have that contribution and unique gift in the world. All it does is mean that the factors that we have to work within and work through are different to others. And that might be frustrating, but the frustration comes mainly because we're trying to compare ourselves to others without those conditions, rather than embracing, if you like, the race that we're all called to run. We're looking into other people's lanes and thinking, oh, I'd rather run that race. But actually, we've each got our own race to run. So the first point really is then to really focus on your unique contribution and your unique call in your life. If you do that, then there'll be focus, there'll be, I suppose, less resentment, and you'll see how you can be fruitful and productive even with a chronic illness. The second consideration or lens to look through is one where limitations are seen as blessings. Now, I think most people in the world would look at limitations and see them as in a negative way. You know, they prevent us from doing things, they prevent us from achieving. Oh, why are all these limitations? I haven't got enough of X because I'm limited in some way. Now, I get that, but at the same time, I really do see that limitations can be a blessing. And you might look at me and say, James, well, how is that possible? Well, I suppose from my experience, I've been living with chronic fatigue for 14 years, and in that time I have fought and pushed against the limitations that brings, and it's been really frustrating. I have a bit of an athlete's mentality where I'll go and push beyond until I get beyond where I've been before. But having a chronic fatigue situation, that's just a condition that's just really not helped. And while there is value in some way in terms of trying your best and pushing forward, even athletes themselves have limits. They limit their eating, they limit their sleeping. They have quite disciplined regimes where they provide limitations on their lives in order to achieve a focus so they can do what they want to do really well. Therefore, not all limitations are negative. Some limitations can be a blessing. Now, while a chronic illness is not self-imposed, it's not a self-imposed limit like an athlete would impose diet or sleep regimes in what they're doing, there is that element of embracing the limit, looking at it positively and saying, well, what does this make possible? And now, by doing that, by, I suppose, limiting down the focus, you're able to go deeper into something. You're able to look and specialize in something. I think one of the beauties of the world is that it creates so much opportunity for many, but sometimes you can get lost in that opportunity and not knowing, well, what road or track or channel to go down. But actually, if you embrace your limitations and think, well, actually, that's off limits, I can't go down that way, but I can focus here and really channel the energies that you have into that. What it leads to is something where those that don't have that limitation actually aren't so focused. So that's why it can become a blessing. I suppose you look around and there's many examples of people who have embraced that. So I can think of one example, a guy called Phil, who is an artist, but he had trouble with his hands. His hands began to shake. Now, as an artist, I'm imagining, that is not a great thing, having your hand shaking. How can you draw like that? But Phil was able to embrace that and come up with a unique style of art and approach to art that many love and enjoy. And so you see him being fruitful and productive despite the limitation that he was given. And he's in a whole TED Talk video on this. I'll put the link up on the screen for you to have a look at. But it's a great story and a very inspirational talk. So the point two really here is, just to summarise, is that we need to learn to embrace our limits, look at them as a blessing in some way. And I know having a chronic condition in some way, that is really, really hard to do. But if you can do that, it provides focus for you to be able to be fruitful and productive in a real specialised field. The third lens or perspective to consider is one I'm calling the unfair advantage. And this kind of builds on the previous point around seeing limitations as blessings. Now, in business, for example, there's a term USP, or unique selling point, where a business tries to differentiate itself in order to set itself apart from its competitors. Now, there's something we can have similar in terms of being an individual. And I came across this concept in the book that was entitled The Unfair Advantage, which basically is a strapline, how to succeed with what you already have, or something similar to that. And while I haven't read the book yet, it's on my reading list to go through. Just the title and the imagery of that really captured my imagination. It shows how important it is to have a good book title and a good cover as well. But the whole aspect of an unfair advantage is critical. It's been a bit of a game changer in my thinking. Now, I would consider chronic fatigue, the condition I have, as really unfair. Okay, something that I wouldn't wish to have, yet it is something that is unique to me. It's something that I can understand. I've lived for a while. I've gained experience in how to deal with it, manage it, and work with it and embrace it day to day. Now, when you live with something like that, you become knowledgeable in it. You're able to help others in it. It becomes something, an advantage that you have that no one else does, or limited people, or limited audience, or limited people have. So therefore, it becomes an unfair advantage. It's something I have that I can leverage in my life, if you like, and use to explain and help others. And I suppose I look at this in terms of my coaching. A part of the coaching that I teach is all about limits and embracing those limits. Now, I have a real life example of how I've been able to do that and how to work that through in some really trying circumstances, which does give me a competitive advantage or an unfair advantage to others. So I suppose there is that perspective change in this point of looking at where things have been unfair to you. Actually, you would have gained something from that you can then leverage to be fruitful and productive. And it's kind of summarised in the quote that came up at the start of this section, which is, "It is not about focusing on the negatives, it's about knowing the realities and leveraging the unfair advantage that we do have to help us live our best lives." That's by Ash Ali from the book Unfair Advantage. So to sum up, whilst living with a chronic illness does bring great challenge and frustration, I believe there's 3 perspectives or lenses that we can look through to help us be more fruitful and productive. The first one is our unique call and contribution into the world. The second is to look at limitations as a blessing and look for what can be possible out of them. And thirdly, to have and look at what your unfair advantage is that will make you different and unique from others and will help you to be fruitful and productive. So on to my one last thing, and this is really just a further point to build on those 3 perspectives or lenses I've humbly suggested in this video. Now, while individually I believe each of those lenses can help us be more fruitful and productive whilst living with a chronic illness, if we try and put those things in place and look through those lenses. If we can layer those lenses up, those 3 things, the unfair advantage, the blessing and limitation, the unique call and contribution, if we can layer all those things up and look through that, I believe it provides us with a real focal point for our lives in order to channel the energies that we have and the skills and natural gifts that we have to be able to be fruitful and productive in what we feel called to. So it's a little bit like going to the opticians. You know, we sit in wearing glasses. I haven't got them on stage, but when you're in the optician's chair, you kind of put the glasses on and they put different lenses in, and as it grows and builds up, you get real clarity on looking at the letters on the wall. And it's the same thing here. The more you can put these lenses in place in your life, the more clarity you'll get in terms of being fruitful and productive. So I hope you find that helpful. So what next? Can I suggest that you perhaps take these lenses and principles that I've outlined and overlay them onto your life and see what thoughts come forward. See what it does when you put these lenses onto your life, what advantages that come to the fore, if you like. If you've got any questions or queries or something you're not quite understood, then please put them in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts. I love hearing from you, and I will try my best to get back and answer each comment that I get. So that's about it for today. I hope you found this helpful. Please subscribe, share and like this video so I can get the benefit out to many more people. Please also take a look at this video here on the book Effortless. So another book that's really helped me, and if you have a chronic fatigue or chronic illness in some way, looking to live life effortlessly, and some of the things that it suggests again will help you. So check out that video and I hope it blesses you. In the meantime, be fruitful and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.